Hello there. My name is Alicia, aka Edmiston Creations, and I am a wife, mom, social worker, athlete, and maker living in the mountains of South Central New Mexico. And this is a space where I like to share about the things that I've been making, what I've been up to, maybe some working out, some things that I've been doing with my family. But mostly I share about knitting and sewing projects, and I like to pepper in some mindfulness and acceptance strategies in along with that. And so if any of that sounds like something that you're interested in, then this is a space for you. So it has been a hot minute since I did a podcast episode. The last time I recorded was before I left to go to Black Mountain to celebrate Black Mountain Yarn Shop's 14th anniversary as a small business, and I was able to attend Andrea Mowery's workshop, a live version of her I'll Knit If I Want To podcast, which was super fun. And then also do a knit night with her and the spinsters, Rachel and Kate. So it was my first time meeting Rachel and Kate, and that was so amazing. I really enjoyed getting to know both of them. They're color masterminds for sure, and amazing artists. And so then this is the second time I got to see, because I got to meet Andrea last year at Black Mountain. And so it was nice to chat with her and talk some about sewing projects, as well as a bit of knitting, because I was testing this for her while I was on that trip, so I was able to talk to her about my colors and my outfit, and that was a lot of fun. But mostly it was really great to be able to slow down and spend time with fiber friends while I was in Black Mountain. But I also got to spend time with my family. My dad turned 65 while I was there. I got to have lunch with my mom and spend some one-on-one time with her. That was wonderful. And I got to go on a run with my dad and my brother to celebrate his 65th birthday. And that doesn't happen often with me living in New Mexico, that the three of us are together in the same space. And so it's always really special whenever we get to share miles together. And the trails that we ran on were beautiful. It was just so lovely. And I was able to go to Summit CrossFit while I was there. That's my gym away from home, and hook up with some CrossFit pals, do some big lifts and some hard workouts. So all in all, it was a really awesome vacation. But then I got back home. I really missed my family while I was away. This was the first time I had traveled solo without being around. It was the first time I've been away from my kids for multiple nights in a row. The only time I've been away from Ella overnight ever was when I was in the hospital having Howie. And then I've never been away from Howie since he's been born, and he's almost 3. So it was a very different experience for me to travel by myself, and it was hard to be away from my children and my husband. So it was wonderful to get back home to them. But when I did get back home, my husband had a horrible stomach bug. My son got sick first and then gave it to him, and my husband was knocked out for about a week with the stomach bug. So I came back and was in full-on mom and wife mode, picking up where I could around the house and stuff to so he could have a break and rest and recover, because he wasn't able to keep food down, really. It was rough. So kind of had that going on, and then busy getting back into the groove of work, and I needed some self-care time myself. So, the time that I typically would have used to record a podcast, there was a couple of different opportunities that I had, but I chose to scratch podcasting off my to-do list for those couple of times so I could knit or sew and make progress on projects, or so I could spend time with my kids and get outside and hike. So that's why it's been a while since I have been here, but here I am, and what an exciting time to be back to podcast because the Tessellated Cardigan is here. I was so honored to be able to have the opportunity to test this design for Andrea. This is by Drea Renee Knits, Andrea Mowery, and it uses sport weight yarn as well as a lace weight fluff. And I used Spinster's Daughter. My main color is Willow Creek. And then my spin cycle is Nocturne Dream On. And then my fluff is Horse Belly. So this is what I had left over of my colors. So I do think that Andrea does a really good job of recommending the amount of yarn you need. She definitely bumps up and she talks about this on her own podcast, but she bumps up the yardage to make sure you have enough to swatch and stuff like that, and that you won't run out. But it's not so, like, she doesn't bump it up so much that you're buying extra yarn that you don't need. I mean, I bought the required amount for my sweater, and this is what I had left over. So not a ton, but I'll be able to find something to do with these with other projects. So yeah. Let's see what all to say about this garment. There's so much that I can say. So I'm going to try to keep this focused. So first off, let's start with picking colors and how I picked my colors. I'll go through kind of the basic stuff. You can check my Ravelry project page for more detailed information, like the size needles and stuff that I use, but I did knit the size 2, and I did the cropped version. I knit 2 pattern, I made 0 modifications, and this is how it turned out. So picking colors. Now we're ready. So when I first agreed to test knit this garment, I had already bought this fabric that I made this dress with. And this is flannel fabric from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. So I had bought this fabric in early December. I knew I wanted to make a flannel Sew Liberated pattern mashup, and I'll talk more about the dress in a little while. So I already had plans to make this dress. Usually whenever I make a knitting project, I pick the colors that I want based on the design or maybe inspiration from nature. Something usually will stand out to me that will drive the color choice. And then I pick fabric to complement the garment if I'm making a full outfit. However, this time the fabric drove my color choices because I had just bought this fabric and it was on its way whenever I made the commitment to test knit this cardigan. So I initially thought that I wanted to do my cardigan out of Mini Moons with my main color in Spinster's Daughter, which is a beautiful cream color. And I wanted to go for like an overall cream, like light neutral vibe. So I started swatching, and this is when I was just playing around with color. And you can see, so originally I had the color choice of like, here's Horse Belly, and then my main color of Mini Moons, and then Dream On. When the Horse Belly really just got lost. There wasn't, and I wanted a low contrast, but because there was such high contrast with the Nocturne that I chose, the Horse Belly kind of faded away. So then I was like, okay, I'll try Elk Antler because I had some of that in stash. Well, these next couple of rows here are with Elk Antler, and you can see it a little better. I don't know, not really. It all still looks like a bunch of cream and then this harsh contrast Nocturne. So then I was like, okay, I'll just start playing with colors. So this is, I think this is Porch Pumpkin, and then I had some North Winds. All of this is Odang Farmer's Daughter fibers that I had in stash. And I was just trying to play around to see what I liked. And I'm glad I did this. I took the time, this was on Christmas Eve when I was playing around with colors. I'm glad I took the time to do this because I just didn't like the way it looked. I was like, man, my original vision is not really coming together the way I want. And I think this is a really good example of, you can have a vision and things can, you know, colors can even look good together in the skein and even cake them up. But then when you knit them together in the stitch pattern, they can look totally different than like what you thought or what you envisioned, like what you were going for. So I really wanted this to be my Christmas Eve cast on, but because I did this swatch, I was like, you know, I really think the problem and what I don't like here is the high contrast between the main color and the Nocturne. And I wanted to use the Dream On Nocturne. Micah, I had reached out to Micah and shared a picture of this fabric with her. She picked out the two most perfect skeins of Dream On Nocturne to go with this fabric. So I wanted to, I was hell-bent on using the Nocturne she had sent me. So I was like, okay, I went back to the drawing board, went on Farmer's Daughter Fibers website, Christmas Eve, and I ordered a couple of different colors, and Spinster's Daughter. Evergreen was one of them, and Willow Creek was the other. And so they got to me just after the new year, and I swatched with each. I had a few different combo possibilities in mind that I played around with, but ultimately this one was the winner. So all told, I casted on this garment around the 5th of January, and I finished it on February 6th. So it was about a month of commitment. And you should know, full disclaimer, like, you know, while I was traveling in Black Mountain, I did not knit on this much. You know, I can't knit on this in public. So you know, it's only in the privacy of my home that I worked on it. So when I was out and about in Black Mountain, or whenever I'm out and about in the community here, I tended to leave this project at home because it's a private test knit, and yeah, I wanted to respect that. And also the yarn management is a thing. It really is easier, I found, to knit this garment when I was in a seated place and I could have 2 balls of yarn in my knitting bag and the working yarn that I was using out of my knitting bag and knitting with it. So it just made for a more pleasant experience versus like knitting and walking, or you know, knitting while I'm at gymnastics watching my daughter. I may be sitting on bleachers or something there and just not very comfortable to knit something like this there. I want like a knitting cockpit whenever I have, you know, 3 balls of yarn that I need to manage. And I really did find, you know, a lot of people are concerned about yarn management with the tessellated stitch pattern. So, you know, everybody there's a bunch of different ways to manage your yarn. Really what I found worked best for me was to keep the 2 balls of yarn that I was not using in my project bag, and then just pull out the yarn I was using and knitting with, and keep that out of the project bag while I was knitting with it. And then I would just kind of juggle things, and whenever I was done with it, put it in the project bag, pull out the next ball that I needed, and then knitted. So that made it very manageable for me, and I really enjoyed the process of knitting this garment, which I should say I'm a process knitter. I'm not a product knitter. So, I mean, I have learned that about myself. If I don't enjoy the process, then I just won't finish it. And so this was something that I did truly enjoy knitting. The pattern is true to Andrea, very clear and thorough, easy to follow. There's charts to help you visually whenever you're doing the shoulder shaping. And I think that Andrea does a really great job in her patterns to where you don't need to kind of go look up a bunch of stuff other places. Her terms are defined nicely in a glossary. I mean, even wrap and turn is written out with written instructions. So, I mean, the written instructions are clear enough that you don't necessarily have to jump out to YouTube to look at something to know how to knit what you need to do in the next step of the pattern. And that's something that I really appreciate, that I'm not having to do research other places. Everything that I need is in my pattern. Whether you do it printed or electronic, it doesn't matter. I like to print mine out so I can write all kinds of things on my pattern. So, yeah, I think that that's about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could say. So the whole thing, it's knit bottom up. You work flat, and then separate for the fronts and the back. You do the fronts first and then knit the back. You have some short row shaping in the back section, and then you join the shoulders in a 3 needle bind off, and with this nice, beautiful seamed edge here. I really like how that separates the front and back pieces. And then the sleeves, you pick up stitches and they are knit in the round. I did go up a needle size for my sleeves, and I used ChowGoo shorties for that. And after knitting flat for for a while, for the rest of the garment, knitting in the round was a welcome thing whenever I got to it for the sleeves. And then you pick up all the stitches for the button band, and picking up stitches, because you're picking up so many stitches for the button band, that can be intimidating. But I used Andrea's trick where you divide your your button band into sections. I put locking stitch markers, so it helped me to make sure that I was evenly picking up stitches all the way around, and I was able to pick them up correctly, or the correct number or whatever on the first time, which was amazing. That's never happened to me before. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about this. Oh, the spin cycle. I did not manage my spin cycle whatsoever. I knit with one skein until I ran out, and then I joined the next skein, and it was what it was. So I did not do any color management whatsoever. But this is the size 2. I love it. And I'm wearing this over top of another long sleeved garment. So I'm going to talk about my dress now. Take this off. Oh, I didn't mention my buttons. I chose to use Idlewild clay toggles for my buttons, which I just love. I saw these on her website and there were 6 of them, and I needed 6 buttons for the cropped version of this sweater. And I was like, oh gosh, it's perfect. So I love them so much. They're just a fun little flair. I like the dark wood. These are handmade toggles, and I will link to her website if you're interested in checking out other things of hers. But here's the inside of the garment with my floats, and the back. And my nocturne color changes are quite subtle, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted a very subtle color transition. You see like these bluish blacks, and we've got greens and teals in there. So, yay. Okay, I could probably keep talking about this garment forever, but we'll move on. Nobody got time for that. So this is the dress that I sewed to wear with my tessellated cardigan. It is a Joni top and hinterland dress, skirt, and chanterelle pants pocket pattern mashup. So this is the view B of the Joni top and the long sleeve cuff version. I'm so proud. This is the first time I've ever done a long sleeved garment, and I did a placket with a button cuff. I was so proud of myself for actually pulling this off. I could not believe that I did this. So I totally want to make a View B Joni flannel shirt in the future after making this, but yeah, I was just so tickled with how these cuffs, and people that have been sewing for a while be like, okay, yeah, whatever, it's not a big deal. But it's the first time I ever did it, so I was just so happy that it turned out. I also used Idlewild clay wooden buttons on this dress and my cuffs. And the View B Joni uses, it is a shawl collar. It is sewn completely different than the camp collar, and I really love how this turned out. I made the pattern pieces for this dress a week before, on a weekend before I sewed it. So now I can sew the exact same dress again if I ever want to. And I think one of the most lovely pieces of this, I don't know if you can really see very well, of this shirt slash dress is the back of the dress. I flat felled my seams and top stitched across the back to make it a very, polished looking piece. And I knew whenever I made this dress, I wanted to make it a long sleeve flannel so I could have it as a standalone garment by itself. Typically whenever I am making a dress with the intention of layering it constantly, or, to want to have the versatility of wearing it in warmer weather, I tend to go sleeveless. And I did not want to make a sleeveless flannel dress, even though it would have been nice to not have the bulk of these sleeves underneath my cardigan just for pictures. But I wanted this dress to stand alone on its own as a cozy flannel garment, and it really does. I'm so impressed with how it fits and the way that it feels. When I put this on, it really does. It feels like I'm wearing a cozy robe, like I just got out of the shower and I put on a cozy bathrobe. That's exactly how this dress feels. The flannel is from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. You can find her fabric in the, I think you have to go to Marketplace and then to Sewing. And she has a nice curated collection of fabric there, and that's where I got this. I love this flannel so much. It's nice and thick. I think I'm gonna buy some more to make some chanterelle pants out of, because you guys know how, if you've been watching my videos or follow me on Instagram, you know how obsessed I am with the chanterelle pants. So I'm feeling some chanterelle pants in this fabric, or in another flannel that Candace carries in my future. So let me stand up and just show you, like, this is the kind of the bodice join, and these are the chanterelle pockets. They're called pork chop pockets is what my friend Renee from Black Mountain Yarn Shop calls them. But aren't they cute? But yeah, no, this is the dress, and I'll have more photos and videos of this dress on my Instagram account that you can check out. I absolutely love everything about it. So that's really all I have to say about my dress. And then lastly, I have them on, so I'm taking them off, the 2Q wool, or no, 2Q honey socks by Andrea Mowery to complete my outfit. And they are made with 2Q wool fingering yarn. They take 2 skeins to make both socks, and this is what I had left over. I still have a decent amount left over, so I will use this in some other socks in the future, either for color work, or I'll buy some more 2Q wool fingering to make an additional pair of socks if I run out. This is from Black Mountain Yarn Shop. I actually casted these socks on the weekend I was in Black Mountain hanging out with my sister-in-law, and it's just so nice to have the memories of, like, we stayed up until like 12:30, almost 1 in the morning knitting socks. I was like, I never stay up past midnight, but when I do, I'm knitting socks with my sister-in-law. Who knew? Whatever. But you know, it was just wonderful spending time with her, and these socks always will have the memories of my trip to Black Mountain and celebrating the 14-year anniversary of their shop. And the wool is so soft, so warm, and I love this color. I was gonna tell you what color they were. I think it's like number 7, I think, is the color from the tag. So, and Black Mountain still has this yarn in stock. If you're interested in getting some, I'll link to their shop and everything. But these are the cutest little things, and I love the little honeycomb stitches. And this is garter stitch here in the middle, and then everything else is reverse stockinette. So you're purling a lot on these socks. I will warn you, if you are someone who does not like to purl, you may not enjoy making these socks, or maybe you could figure out how to make them inside out. I don't know. I don't mind purling, so so I made them. The garter stitch sections, though, between the little cabled honeycombs was actually a really smart design choice by Andrea, I thought, because as I was knitting along on the socks, whether I was knitting in between my honeycombs or whether I was purling in between my honeycombs told me if I needed to cable or not cable that round. And that was so helpful to help you to keep your place and actually be able to read your knitting, so to speak, as you were going along. And I found that after I got into the groove of the pattern on the socks, I could pick them up and put them down very easily. I didn't have to carry the pattern around with me anymore because I could just rely on that garter stitch section between the honeycombs to tell me where I was at in the sock pattern. So it was funny when I was making them, initially I was like, oh, why are we switching to garter here? Why wouldn't we just do reverse stockinette for everything? But as I kept going on, I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know where I'm at cabling or not cabling if I'm purling between my honeycombs or if I'm knitting between my honeycombs. That Andrea, she's always thinking. So I'm like, this is why I'm not a knitwear designer. I'm a knitter. Because I just never would have thought about something like that little detail. So yeah, that's really all I have for today. I'm not sure exactly when I will be, going live with this, but it will be either on the Tessellated Cardigan release day or after, like the Friday after. And so since that's the case, I hope everybody had a very happy Valentine's Day. Hope you did something nice for yourself and not just the people in your life that you love. It's important to also show love to ourselves from time to time. And I did want to make a mention of, before I wrap up here, that all of the tester versions of the Tessellated Cardigan that I have seen are absolutely stunning. So, it was just an amazing experience to be able to be a part of such a talented group of makers. And I can't wait to see all of the color combos that you guys put together, and see more tessellated cardigans popping up on Instagram. It's just such a fun I keep staring at mine. It's just such a fun stitch pattern to play with color, and the fabric comes out so nice and dreamy. So I hope that you have enjoyed what I've shared today, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with me. Hopefully you got some knitting done while you listened to this episode, and if you don't want to miss out on any content in the future, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. And I deeply appreciate anyone who chooses to subscribe, and also leave a comment, or comment and share with me what colors you want to use for your tessellated cardigan. I would love to hear, even if you don't have plans to cast one on immediately, what are some color choices that you have? I would love to hear. It's just so fun to talk about all the color possibilities. And so I hope to be back again soon. I have not forgotten about sharing some different patterns that are great for like active wear. So I have some different crochet and knitting items that I use frequently when I'm working out, not just sweaters. So I plan on sharing that, as well as some go-to winter gear pieces, because I do all of my workouts outside. So that's coming in my next episode in the next couple of weeks. And so until then, I hope that you have a wonderful couple of weeks or so ahead of you, a pleasant weekend, and happy mindful making.